Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. As promised, I got a Briggs Stratton 18.5 horse on a Craftsman that has a bad compression release on the cam. So, let me show you what happens when this happens. It'll hit the compression. As soon as it hits the compression stroke like that, it'll lock up. Starter isn't strong enough to turn it over. It's really common on these Briggs. They always do that with the compression release. And up for discussion right now is what I want to show you guys and get everybody's opinion on. So, this is a cam off Amazon. And this is the piece right here that breaks. So, with the Amazon aftermarket cams, these are 23 bucks or 26 bucks. The OEM Briggs Stratton is 100 and some bucks. I think 105. So, what happens with these? Right here on these splines, these lobes will wind up turning and these will strip out. So, here's what you can do. You can TIG weld these, which I was going to do on this one. So I'm going to put a little tack weld on the top and the bottom of the cam, the lobe I mean, to the cam, here and here. Or there's another thing that I've never done, but we're going to try it on this one. You can remove the compression release off these and put it back on the factory OEM cam. So I'm going to put this compression release, or attempt to, on the OEM cam. Usually this little pin right here will break, or this spring will break on it. So that being said, set that down. This is what the kit came with. It's an Amazon kit. It was 23 bucks. I think they're 29 bucks. Got a valve cover gasket. Got a sump gasket. Also, it was mentioned too in Taro's video about the thickness of these aftermarket ones. Make sure that the thickness is within spec. Otherwise, your crank is going to have different in play, and that ain't good either. This one, I believe, is a better kit. You can see the numbers stamped on the cam. 579. When we get this opened up, the numbers on the factory cam should be the same. I'm not saying it's built in the same place. This is Chinese, but this is a better quality aftermarket. And listen, guys, the reason I'm not putting a OEM cam in this thing is this tractor is only worth 200 bucks. And the guy that I'm selling it to is actually a friend of mine. And I'm going to go through and let him know, what I did. And if he wants it, fine, still. And if he doesn't want it, that's okay too. But this is an issue that's got to be fixed because it will not run. So, also, you got the lifters. Comes with those. Comes with oil seals for your sump and your crank. Or your sump where your crank goes through. And it looks like the top of the sump, or the top of the block too, where the crank goes through. And the oil pin. So, I don't think I'm going to get this done today. I might not start on it today, but I'm going to get the tractor up on the drive-on ramps so I can get underneath there, and I'm going to drain the oil out of it, and then I'll show you what you do from there. One other thing I wanted to mention before we get started. This is the OEM part number. It's a 793880, and with any Google search, you're going to find all the problems with these things. So if you were to order OEM, that's your part number. This aftermarket, that's what comes on the box. These Chinesium cams. But let's get this thing opened up and let's see if I can just switch the compression release. And I'd rather do it that way than do the TIG weld thing with the lobes. But let's see. On the top side of this motor, to get this off, you're gonna have to take the exhaust off. The starter cable, the positive, unclip the wiring harness here. There's also another clip, or I apologize, there's only one clip on this one that goes to that. And then come over here and you're gonna have to undo your fuel line. Now, I got the oil draining out. A little trick on these, lower the deck all the way down. You can turn the wheel and slip your pan in. So, and also you gotta disconnect your throttle cable, forgot. Throttle cable's right here. So get that off there. And then when I get it up on the ramps, I'll show you on the bottom side, the blade clutch has to come off. What I did here to get the compression release out of this cam, the brand new cam, is I gently took it sits right in here, this piece right here, and I gently pushed on the back of this with a flathead right here, and it's easy, really slow, push the pin out and remove the compression release. This pin comes out and this piece is separate. So I think we're gonna go ahead and put that on the old one, maybe. And I'm gonna take this. I do have a TIG welder. I might have somebody at work do it. I'm not the best welder out there. Or I'll do it myself. I'll tack it, like I said earlier, here, there, there, and there. So once we get this electric clutch off, which I don't have the right tools here, so I'll get them tomorrow, we'll see what we're gonna do with this. Here we have it. I got the 18.5 horse Intek off. Pretty simple. I disconnect my electronic blade clutch up here, wire comes through. Then when I pull the clutch assembly off, which I'll show you, I just take the whole thing off, the wire. It's pretty simple. There's 4 bolts on the bottom, 9/16 bolts that hold the motor to the frame of this. Here we have the electric blade clutch right here. It's pretty simple. This is the top pulley. I got extremely lucky. This one wasn't seized on. Just take the 5/8 bolt out. This whole thing will slide right off the crankshaft. Guys, a lot of times these will act up. These are expensive too. Number 1, the bearings in here go bad. Number 2, these wires will break off right in here. There's videos out there. You can fix these. You don't have to replace them. So this just slides in here. Then your drive belt goes on here. Your deck belt's down here. Now, here she is. This thing is dirty, dirty, dirty. I'm gonna clean up the deck, or the mower I should say. I usually take my backpack leaf blower and I'll blow all this crap out, and then I'll get some engine bright. I'll clean all this shit off. That way when it's back together, if it's got an oil leak or something, you could tell. As you can tell, a valve cover seep in here. I got a new gasket, no big deal. So I have this awesome little, I guess you would call it little engine stand. Let me tip this motor up, I'll show you guys. It's just a hole cut in a square like this. I've had this thing for years. It actually belonged to my great grandfather who taught me small engines. Thing's awesome, works really well. So with that being said, let me get the mower deck, or the mower itself, cleaned up. And I want to get this shit all cleaned up on here. I have to come up with a way to do that. I have to put the exhaust back on because you don't want to get water in the valves. And then I'm going to rotate this engine over, and I'm going to pull what they call the sump off. That's the bottom. That's what holds your all the internals in there. Your oil pan, basically, is what I should say. So let me get that opened up, and I'll get back to you guys when we get that off, and let's see what's broke. To get the sump off, you're going to take all these 1/2-inch bolts out. Now, it's been a long time since I've done one of these, so always check your bolt lengths when you're taking them out. Some of these might be shorter than others, and that's going to be important when you're putting it back together. Same thing as if you're doing a head gasket. Watch those bolt lengths. I always clean this up. I'm going to do it off camera before I take this apart, because you don't want a lot of this dirt and debris falling down into the crankcase. I usually just zip these off. I'll just show you one of them. I just run these out with my cordless impact. So I'm going to clean all this up, then I'm going to pull the sump off, and let's see what's broke. This is what it looks like once you get the sump off. There's a sump. It's the oil slinger. It's your governor here. And here's your cam. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off. Set this over in the oil sump. Sorry guys, I don't have anybody to hold the camera, so. And I'm going to pull this cam out. I got the cam out. As you can see, there's the compression release. And I think, I'm not 100% sure, I think this pin is turned. It should be down. When it slings open, it goes in. But I think the hump should be up. So that's why she ain't releasing the compression. So, okay. At the beginning of this video, I talked about what I was going to do as far as maybe TIG welding these lobes, or switching the compression release from the Chinese cam here to the OEM cam. Will work great. I winded up just switching it out. So here you can see I have the compression release on the OEM factory cam. I just robbed it off the $23 or $29 cam. So let me get the cam back in here. I'll show you guys how you set the timing, and we'll go from there. You put the cam back in. I didn't replace the lifters. The lifters are down here. There's 2 of them. I didn't replace them. It does come with new lifters in the Chinese cam. I'm not screwing with it. Right here. Here you go. There's a dot here on your crank. There's a dot here on your cam. Those are your timing marks. Line those up and you'll be all set. So, let me clean up the sump gasket. Clean up the block here. Get the new gasket on. Governor is going to go in like so. To give me a minute. I can't do this one-handed. I'll get that in there and we'll see what happens. Governor assembly's all back in. The oil slinger. Timing lined up. Got the new seal laying up there. Cleaned everything really good. The sealing surface is really good. You always want to do that. And that's about a wrap for the night. I think that's good enough. I'm going to put a new seal in the bottom of the sump here. I don't know. This thing had oil leak. You can tell there's oil everywhere. I think it's coming from the valve cover. If I look down in here, you can see it seeping, but this is a mess. So, okay guys, I'll get back to you after the sump's on and the new seal's in. There's one way I just found out when I did my boat, outboard I'm working on actually. I got a slide hammer and I'll take it, and it's got like a L like this, and I'll put it down in here behind that seal, and boom boom, I'll just slide hammer it out, and I just tap the new seal in. I'm gonna do it off camera, but yeah, we'll do that. And once I get the sump back on, I'll put the motor back on the mower and get it hooked up, and let's see if this fixes the problem. I'm not sure if it's gonna or not. Alright, we got the sump back on there, new gaskets, new seal on the crankshaft. I'm gonna whip this valve cover gasket off real quick. It's leaking. Well, definitely was leaking. It's loose, so that's probably why it was leaking. But I got a new one, so I'm just gonna replace it. I already know the valve lash is good on this because I'm the one who lashed it, so. Alright, let me replace this cover, this gasket on here. Scrape this off. Make sure your surface here is really clean. I'll get everything cleaned up. We'll get it put back together, and I'll get with you guys in the mower when the motor's back on the mower. Alright guys, let's see if the compression release fixed the problem with this thing. Alright, and there you have it. The way I fixed the compression release on an 18.5 Briggs Stratton Intek. So that's just the way I did it, and it worked good for me. Now let's hope all the oil seals seal up. And that's it. I'm on to the next video. I got some more coming with the boat, and I got a lawnmower I found on the side of the road with a sign that said "Take Me," and it's an interesting one. It's an easy fix. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Please subscribe.